Learning to grind is like learning a completely new language. It doesn't happen in a day. You gotta practice, 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 and practice. In this video, I'll tell you all the tips that you need to practice more efficiently. I'm Ivo, I'm the owner of This Is All Skate Shop. Today I'm wearing aggressive skates. This is a YouTube series about aggressive inline skating, but it's actually one of the first episodes that I'm actually wearing it. Because all the other things except for grinding, you can also do not aggressive skates. Riding a ball or jumping, spinning, 360s and all that. If you want to learn those things, we already made videos about it and we're going to do more videos about aggressive inline skating. So follow the channel if you want to learn new stuff. We also have videos about buyer's guides and hardware insights. So if you want to learn more about what aggressive skates to get, things to look out for, then you can learn a lot from those videos. Of course, the best thing is to come by our stores because we have a store in Antwerp, in Amsterdam and in Berlin. We are right now in Amsterdam. This is the Olympiaplein skate park. It's one of my favorite skate parks in the world. And one of the nice things about it is that it's super slippery and a lot of people don't actually like it, but it's really nice fall here. You just slide and they have a coping box. And the coping box is just like a quarter pipe with the coping on it. So it's kind of like grinds like a quarter pipe, but you can jump on it, curb. So it's the perfect mix and it's really low. It's perfect for somebody like me who doesn't want to jump high. And also a good thing about it is that the toe is really wide. So if you miss your grind, you can just do mermaid and slide on the deck. So this is my favorite spot, but not all skate parks have a coping box. So I'm going to show you a lot of things on the coping box, but there's also a rail here. This is way more common in a skate park to have a rail. So if you don't have a coping box but you do have a rail, then you can also practice it on the rail, of course. Or if you just have a little curb here, all the same tricks that we're going to do on the coping box, you can also do on the curb. It's just a little bit harder than on the coping box because it's way more easy to slide off. So learning to grind is like learning a new language. And you gotta just start with a few words, I guess. And the positions that we're gonna touch on today are kind of like the words of the language. In the end, later, when you skate, maybe for a couple of years, hopefully you're able to write poetry. If the foot positions are the words, then the grinds are the sentences, and the switch ups and the lines like just like whole chapters of sentences, and maybe they can form a book. But if you really want to write poetry, then you have to add style, and style is just how you do it. So this is the last part that you're going to develop in your skating development, but it all has to start with words. I remember in school when we had like German and French and English classes, then we just had to like repeat the words, and that's kind of like what you have to do now as well. So we're gonna practice, but things that you need to pay attention to while practicing, that's what I'm gonna show you in this video. But you're the one who is actually gonna do it and put in the time. So let's start. I'm gonna go to the coping box because I have the luxury to have it here. And the first thing that you should learn is curb stop. It's where you just like approach the curb and just put one foot on it. Boom. This is also what you use if you're gonna walk on a stair. So this is like a really big stair. But normally if a stair has like smaller steps, and you can just easily walk on stairs like this. The next step is you can do a curb stop and then add your other leg to it and then jump off with 2 feet at the same time. And then if you're comfortable with that, you can try with 2 feet at the same time to jump on, right? It will probably take you a lot of repetitions before you can do that. And you'll immediately have to learn the first rule of stalling. And that is that you need to tense up all the muscles below your belly button. All the muscles in your leg needs to be really tense when you're on the coping because it's really slippery. And this is also really slippery. That's, of course, the goal is here to slide. It's really hard to stall and not slide. And the only way to do that is to just be really strong. Otherwise, you're gonna have a wipeout and it's gonna be a short training session. Probably that wipeout is gonna happen anyway. Rather that you're prepared for it. So mentally prepare that you're gonna do a mermaid falling technique at some point on the obstacle. So it's also good, just like I've taught you before in previous episodes, to become friends with the ground. It's also good to become friends with the coping box. So before you start, touch it a little bit, tap it like, hey little buddy. Just know that the coping box can be also your friend or your enemy, and it's also there to help you. So if you feel unsafe, I think you're gonna fall, just let yourself fall and go into into a mermaid position on it. Upright, together. That's the best position. No, you're gonna have a few wipeouts. Best to do a mermaid when it happens. That's the first rule, is to be really tense. Then there is a couple of other things that you need to do. Or the next one is that you need to be really low. And with the coping box this height, it's almost all foot positions that my head actually doesn't really change in the height. Now I'm standing here and my head is this high, but when I'm gonna step on and do a sole, I'm gonna actually keep it a little bit at the same height, you see? The lower you are, actually the better. It just happens to be so that with like a perfect coping box height, your head just stays at the same spot. Then there's always, for each foot position that we're gonna touch on, there's always like a position of your orientation. So for example, the sole grind is a forward grind, but the front side is a sideways, okay? You see that my arms, I'm actually going sideways now when I grind like this. Another one, mishu, and mishu is actually more 45 degrees. See that? If you do a mishu just perfectly forward like a sole grind, it's not gonna be as nice. And the mishu, if you do it sideways like this, also it's not gonna work. There are these kind of like fixed ways to do these grinds with the body orientations. And if you don't keep up the rules that I'm gonna tell you, you're gonna eventually find it out yourself, or you're gonna have a really bad time. So really take it in, everything I say, and practice. Then the next point that I want to touch on, the leg positions. So with almost all grinds, there's one knee that's 90 degrees and then one other leg that's stretched. Like the sole grind here, one is stretched and the other one is 45 degrees. For mistral, for example, both knees are 90 degrees, like this. I'm gonna go through all the foot positions for you, and I'm gonna touch on the knee position, like is it stretched or is it straight? And I'm gonna emphasize the shoulder positions. These are so fundamental for these grinds that if you get them wrong, you're not gonna be able to do them. Then there's one more thing, which is really critical. All the sole techniques is that your knee is always on the side of the grind. Your knee should not be above the coping, but your knee should be on the side here. You see that? And because my knee is not here, but here, you see what happens with my foot? The angle of my foot changes. With this, I have a perfect lock and I'm standing, I can stand like this. But if I put my knee over my foot, it doesn't work. And this is really easy on the coping box. It's also easy on a rail, but if you only have something like this, then it's still true. It's just a little bit harder with sole grinds. You still have to put the knee completely on the outside. You can never do it like this. Grinding like this doesn't work. You're not grinding like this, you're grinding like this. So these are the core fundamentals. Body strength, tense up, stay low. At least one knee is 90 degrees. Probably one is stretched or the other one is. Then you have the body position. Oh, and then there's one more, and that's the weight distribution. There's also one more thing that if you get it wrong, you're not going to be able to do the grind. So for example, the sole grind is 90% of the weight is on the back foot. That means that if somebody would now lift my front foot up, it would be really easy to lift the front foot up because there's barely no weight on it. That's one more thing, weight distribution. Okay, so now we have all the focus points, and now we're gonna run through all the positions that there are, which are a lot, and I'm gonna tell you what the situation is here. So focus on the knee, the shoulder position, the weight distribution. All right, let's start with the soles because they're actually the easiest, and you can jump on them, but I think that's one of the most common mistakes to make, is to learn the positions by trying to jump on them, because you first need to know what you're jumping towards. Otherwise you can never like jump into something that you don't know what the end result is going to be. So you first need to learn what the end result is, and then make a picture in your mind of how it feels, and then you can try to do the mind trick that we've been talking about before in these videos, where you try to see that picture while you're approaching the trick, and then you can actually do the trick. For now, for this practice, it's not about jumping onto it. It's first about all the foot positions, and then later you gotta like try to jump onto it. It feels like an eternity, because it's just gonna be practice, 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 practice. But don't forget to, every time you miss, so let's say I'm gonna try an acid now, I'm gonna miss it. This should be the approach. Okay, so then you miss it. Then you have to, as a punishment, to step on it again, do the acid, make a picture, jump off. Now you're off, and you're going to try to reimagine that picture while you're jumping. and then you can land it. So that's the approach. But for now, we're just gonna run through all the foot positions. This was an asset. Let's just go with that one. You see again, this knee is 90 degree. My knee is on the outside here. Asset is a forward grind. So I'm not standing with my shoulders like this, but my shoulders are like that. And my front foot is pretty stretched. And there's barely no weight on it. It's like 90% of my weight is on my back foot. There's the sole grind. It's the most classical one. This is sole. That's the name of the channel, of course. So finally got to be able to say this in a video. Well, it's been, I don't know, like 7 years that we're running the channel full steam. Finally, we're doing the this is sole. Next one is Mishu. And with Mishu, the shoulders are more like 45 degree. You see right now I'm doing it wrong because Mishu should actually also be 90 degree with the front foot. And the weight distribution is a little bit more like, I would say like 80%, 20%. So you're standing a little bit more on your back foot. There's one variation to the Mishu, which I really like. I think, I don't know why, but for me, it just works a lot better than the Mishu. And that's called Royale, like this. And this is where both knees should be 90 degrees. And it's also 45 degrees for shoulders again. And the weight distribution between your legs is like 50-50. This is really stable. I think the nice thing is that if you miss your sole with the Royale, then you still have your back foot. So it's just a little bit safer maybe. Then there's the porn star. This is the position. It's also 45 degrees, the other way around. The Mishu was like this. And both knees should be 90 degrees. And the weight distribution is 80-20. So you should lean a little bit on your back foot. For the sole variation, and that's where your front foot is in torque. If you're going forward, it's torque sole. And if you're going backwards, it's called Royale. This is also one of my favorites. It's a little bit 60-40 or something. If you're doing it backwards, the alley-oop soles, somehow they're really easy to get stuck on. Remember what I said before, you need to strengthen all your muscles. If it's a solid statue and you push it, it will roll. But if it's like a blubbery statue and you push it, the energy will be in the blubber. So next one is Macchio. This is really straightforward. It's 100% on your sole foot and forward grind. One knee should be 90 degrees. There's a variation to the sole tricks, and top sole is when you're not having your wheels on the side of the curb, but your wheels are on top of the curb. All the sole positions, so for the Macchio, it's called fish brain, like this, and it's exactly the same. The top sole, for example, is also the same as a normal sole. You can just go through all the variations and do the same. This is top acid. The front foot is a little bit stretched. This one, the back foot should be 90 degrees. It's like 90% on the back foot, and it's a forward grind. There is Mishu, topside Mishu, but this is not called top shoe. I've never heard anybody call it topside Mishu because it's called sweat stance. But it's the same, it's 45 degrees. The weight distribution is 70-30. Porn star, which is also the same as a normal porn star in every way. Try this later after you mastered all the soles, please. Then there's the variation of the kind grind. So if you're going forward, it's called sweat stance. If you're going backwards, it's actually called kind grind. You can also do mistrial. It's one of my favorites, the Mishu. And again, the weight distribution for this one is 50-50, 45 degree angle. Both knees should be 90 degrees. The top sole, there's also a variation, and that's called a torque sole if you're going forward, or top Royale if you're going backwards. Whew, haven't done this a long time. Feels so good. The trick is so stylish. So now we're moving to the front sides. Proper way to stall the front sides, if you want to jump on it, is as if you're grinding it. So when you're grinding it, you're approaching it parallel like this. And then you jump on with the 90-degree turn. So I would recommend, if you're going to stall, to also stall it in this way. But to learn it beginning, it's probably good to have a little build up towards it. And you can also do it perpendicular to the curb. It's first like this, and then when you master it like that, then you do it with 90 degrees. All I'm focused on now is like the foot position. So I'm just going to step on, and you should also, otherwise you don't know what you're jumping into. So there's the front side, which is the most famous one. Common mistake with the front side is to have the foot too close to each other. And especially when people start grinding it, they'll have wipeouts. I've seen so many wipeouts. Because this is often one of the first grinds people learn, I would advise to learn the sole tricks first though. If you wipe out like this, it's just really painful. And I've seen people quit by falling with the front side. So I just want to emphasize the danger. The thing that you should do to counter this is to have your legs really wide, like this. Your knees should be a little bit in, and you should make yourself really strong. Again, of course, for all the tricks, you should make yourself strong. From the belly button down, like a statue. If you don't do that, then you're gonna have a bad time. So it's so slippery. You can experiment with the slipperiness, like this. If I was to be your teacher and you would be here, I would let you do it once, to that never again. It's good to feel it, to kind of like know where the slipperiness is. A common mistake is that people grind and then they close their feet at the end and then they still have the wipe out. So they start off good. Watch out for all those, please. Make yourself wide and strong. So that's the front side. Both foot are stretched. It's a sideways grind and the weight distribution is 50-50, of course. Then the variation to the front side is the back side, of course. Like this, also wide and strong. There's the front side and the back side, and then all the grinds that we're gonna do now are variations to the front side and the back sides. Right now, I'm gonna show you the Royale, one of my favorite tricks, of course. It's such a classic. So the Royale, and we're gonna do a whole tutorial on how to learn the Royale later. There's just so much to know about this. But first I'm just gonna show you now how it looks. This is a frontside Royale. Both knees are 90 degrees. It's a sideways grind. Most of my weight is on the back foot. 80% of the weight on the, it's called the Royale foot as well. It's the backslide foot as well. Because that's how it's called if you're doing it on one leg. It's called the backslide. Like this, also sideways, all the weight on one foot, duh. And then 90 degrees, of course. Funny thing to know is that this little groove here in the skate, this is called the backslide groove. All right? It's not called the Royale groove, it's called the backslide groove, and that's because this trick is called backslide. Woo! And then, of course, there's a backslide, like this, and the backside Royale, like this. Then it's Royale and backslide if you're doing it in this direction. But if you're going the opposite direction, it's called either full torque or verknugen. If you're doing it on one foot, it's called a torque. So this is torque and this is full torque. Again, 90 degrees with the knees. And the weight distribution is the same, 80% on this foot and 20 on that foot. And they're sideways grinds, of course. So these are all the like Royale, full torque, verknugen, torque and backslide variations, which are all a little bit the same trick, but either left or right or backside or front side, or one foot or 2 foot. But yeah, it's definitely the same trick tree. Then there are the unities. So let's move on to the unities. The unities are when you cross your legs. You see that I am not in a completely sideways position anymore now with the unities. So it's not really 45 degrees. I'm standing too straight now. You have to be way lower when you do it. And the weight distribution is 50-50. You got to be on both the backslide grooves. You're only doing it proper if you can do a basketball, no, maybe a smaller ball, but like a fist should definitely fit between your knees. If you don't have an opening here, but if you're doing it like this, you're doing something wrong. I've never seen somebody do a good unity grind without having a gap between the knees here. If you're doing it that way, it's called a unity. If I'm grinding that way, it's a savannah. And now I'm standing backside, so this is called the backside savannah, and this is called the backside unity. And you can do the same thing with front side, of course. This is called a front side unity, and this is called a front side savannah. There are, of course, different ways to rotate onto a trick, but we're gonna do a different video about that. This is called alley-oop or true spin or in spin and out spin. We're not looking into that today. All right, then there's a couple of special editions. So these are tricks that not a lot of people do for some reason. So that's why I might have forgotten them now in this whole, just like rambling on all the foot positions. And one that we forgot was X grind. And this is weird, but there's one name and it's X grind, but there are two different grinds. I don't know how to say the difference, but you can have your Makio in the back and your fish brain in the front, or you can have your Makio in the front and your fish brain in the back. And they're definitely different tricks. They look the same. You'll notice once you start practicing, one will be like really easy to you and then the other one will be super hard. There's one that's actually one that I really like. It's called cab driver. And that's kind of like a backside torque and a backside backslide together. And you can sit really low on it. So both knees are 90 degrees, weight distribution is 50-50. Then there's a couple of odd ones which I would avoid. So ignore everything I'm gonna say now. One is called bin sole. So it's a sole grind that you by accident gonna turn your back foot like this. So this is called a bin sole. And then you can do it the other way around. I think it's called tabernacle, like this. But see if you can try to avoid both of these tricks, maybe until you're like at least skating 10 years, okay? And the same goes for negative tricks. That's the inside of your sole plate, like this. Your knee has to be really like, normally your knee cannot be above the coping, right? We already touched on that. But for negatives, you really need to push your knee in. And then all the negative variations, I think negative mistral is going to be the best looking one. So all these negatives are a little bit the same, but they have different foot position. This is the negative missu. And there's even some people who can do negative acid, like this. I've never done that. But I'm also not trying to, because it's really hard to make these tricks look good. I would wait like a long time before starting to try negatives, okay? Let's just agree on that, you and me both together, okay? Got a deal. First, practice all the basics. Be sure that you can really do that. Now we touched on the basics on the coping box. Maybe you don't have a coping box, but you tried it on a rail or on a curb. You gotta practice it on all those things, I think. The next step is to try it in the quarter pipe. So let's go there. So find your favorite quarter pipe, preferably I think a low one, which is not so steep. It should be a little bit shallow. I like this one because it's actually really slippery here. And that means that if you fall, it just works like a slide and you can slide down. You never fall hard on the Olympia Plein skate park in Amsterdam. I love it. And being able to fall, of course, is the most important thing in mastering a trick, because if you cannot fall the trick, then you can also not do the trick, okay? And you're as good in skating as that you are in falling with skating. So if you cannot fall with skating, you're also not gonna learn anything. So the first thing is, if you're gonna practice all these coping tricks here, is to do mermaids in the quarter pipe. And if you cannot do mermaids in the quarter pipe comfortably, this is the moment that you have to start practicing. When we're gonna do stalls, again, we're not starting at the start and we're not gonna start to land on it with a run up. I'm just gonna get on top and step on it. But this is really scary for beginners. I'm super comfortable here because I've been skating so long. But just like this first step in, if you wanna like put your soul on here, this is usually for beginners really scary. So you can also ask if you can like grab somebody, or maybe there's a little fence that you can grab. But once you're on it, you can even do it from a front side or a backside position. You should just get really low, bend your foot a little bit on its edges. So my knees are shifted to the left side. And then I'm gonna grab the coping and just slide down. Boom. You should really be comfortable with doing that. Everything on the quarter pipe is of course the same as the coping box, because from where I'm standing, it's the same except for how I'm jumping off. So I don't need to teach you anything about the foot positions anymore, because you already know that. I only have to teach you kind of like the way to start with it. You need to be able to just regular skate at this point, like drop in, drop out. That should be a little bit basic stuff once you want to really start stalling on the coping. And then the first stall that you can do, of course, front side and then dropping in. That's really basic. But the actual first one would be missu. A proper missu is, like we just said, 90 degrees. And then with the feet really wide from each other. But in the beginning, I would just take it as if you're just standing in a normal position and you just want to drop in, and just gonna actually drop in on the right foot And I'm gonna put this foot next to it like this. So I didn't even like really jump, but this is just the first step, okay? So then we're gonna build it up, try to jump a little bit more and try to put more weight on this foot so that you can do it a little bit more like that. Up. Once you repeat and repeat and repeat that, put more and more weight on the Makio foot, on the sole foot. And now we're gonna do something that's really scary if you're starting with this. And that's putting on the sole plate, putting on the sole foot, and then putting your Mishu foot in front towards the sole. That's really scary for people. Not for me. Hey. You can also do it the other way around if you want, especially if you're holding on to somebody. Start with the front foot and then put the sole on it. Jumping in from a sole position is just, again, super scary. That's why I'm gonna turn it into a Mishu and then just like do what we just did. So sole to Mishu, and now I'm gonna go in. Just do that like 20, 30, 100 times. You'll get more comfortable and more comfortable. Eventually, you won't think this is scary anymore, and you'll be able to just jump in like this. You have to build it up a little bit. Then I think you're ready to really try all the other foot positions. So the next step would be acid, right? So then you try it the same thing, but then with acid. You're gonna try the same thing, but with porn star. Up, put your back foot like this, and then jump in. Then you're gonna do all the top soles. Like this, toward top acid, and then land. Cool, all right. So do the same thing with all the top soles. Then of course, the unities. This again is gonna be one of those moments that you're like, help, my legs are crossed. How can I jump in? If you feel like that, maybe it's best to go back to a little curb and then you stand on it, pretend that it's a quarter pipe, and then just convince yourself that you are going to be super quick with realigning the legs, because it's not that hard. I've never seen somebody fall with it. Oop. And of course the same with the front side unity. We're playing around with foot positions in the quarter pipe. This is great, this is awesome. This is like real aggressive skating. You made it. But now of course we want to get onto the coping. This is hard if you cannot do it. I think everybody, even like if you're skating for 5 or 10 years or something, there's still nuance to be learned. By then you'll be grinding, but then still you're gonna like grind and you're gonna balance on the wrong side and you're gonna fall on the plateau, or you're gonna have wheel bite because you're grinding here, but your back wheel or your front wheel is actually on the plateau. And if it touches, then you stop. So it's going to be a reoccurring issue that you need to find your balance here. There's a couple of ways to get better at this. Well, first thing, of course, repeat, practice, 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 okay? It's not a free lunch. Core skill that you need to learn is pushing, but also to counter push. Because you can actually, by at the last moment, absorb a little bit of your energy. You can go a little bit slower, and then nuance your speed just right so that you find the right balance. Because you have to get up, but you don't have to fall over, right? So you have to find the right balance. And pushing is the way. So you can do a little push at the end, or just a little counter push at the end. So I'm going to show you for the push. I'm going to show you go really slow. Then I'm going to do a stall, and I'm going to go back. Okay, so I'm going to go really slow, and then push. And then land. But even now, on the last moment, you might have saw me that I did a little bit counter push. Okay, now I'm gonna try to go really fast, and I'm gonna absorb all my energy, and then do a perfect stall, I hope. Oi! I absorbed all my energy there, so that was great. All right, so then the second thing is swing your leg a little bit. If you don't have enough speed, you can just like whoop. You see it's really hard then to make a stall, but at least you're gonna get up. So swing, up, boom. Especially if you just want to learn to get up, swinging the leg really works. Swinging legs will fuck up your ability to do complicated foot positions because one leg is at a weird place. Because you actually need that leg to push off with. So a lot of the times when you're gonna do a stall in the quarter pipe, also with the curb by the way, if you're jumping onto the curb, it's the same thing. So that's why a lot of people think switch grinds are hard. Switch is when you do like a sole grind, not like this, but you do it on the other legs, like this. So you have to switch in your mind in the foot position. But the reason why people think switch is so hard, people are really good at jumping with one leg, but not so good in jumping with the other leg. All these grinds, they also have like a dominant leg to jump from. If I'm gonna do top sole, I really need to jump from my right foot, which is also my topside foot. Let me show you. So I'm putting just way more force in my right leg. And this means that for a switch top sole, I'm not good at it because I cannot jump from my left leg. I can try. You see? Just harder to balance. But that is definitely one of the tricks that you need to learn, need to master, is that to get like a solid foot position, you need to learn what leg you jump off from, and this is a process. The next thing that you can do is, if this is the quarter pipe and this is you, if you stay straight, you go into a launch as if it would be a ramp launching you. If you go like this, so you turn your body while going up, you're going into an air and then going back. So the position of your body in your approach also determines if you're gonna go forward or if you're gonna go backwards, okay? Because we've been talking about speed by pushing and everything, but you can easily just like go super fast, like jump high and then still land on the perfect spot. You have to throttle that energy of where you're gonna land with the angle of your body in the approach of the quarter pipe. Maybe you should just like try to be conscious about this once, and for one time drop in and try to have your nose over your foot, so have your nose forward, and then also one time drop in and have your nose at the same horizontal level as your foot. Let me show you both examples. I'm gonna try to have my nose over my foot, and then you're gonna see that I'm gonna go forward. Boom. All right, okay. Same thing. Now I'm gonna try to have my nose at the same height as my foot. And then you see that I'm backwards. So obviously when you stall, you have to be somewhere in the middle because you don't want to shoot over, but you don't want to stay in, okay? So you have to play around with this as well in the quarter pipe. It helps if you try to land the trick on this side of the coping instead of trying to land it on this side of the coping. If you land here, you'll still have some sideways energy and you're gonna fall off. If you land here, you're still gonna have some sideways energy and then you're gonna move on it actually. So now I'm gonna land on top of the coping and you see I'm gonna still have speed and roll on. Next try, I'm gonna try to land it on the side of the coping and then move on to the top. Whew, that was good. So by now, if you followed all these steps, you're gonna be an expert in stalling. If you wanna learn more, follow our channel, of course, but you can also take a lesson because we have a skate school here in Amsterdam. In our store in Antwerp, there's also a skate school. And of course, in the store in Berlin, there's also a skate school. And there's a link in the description for the skate schools as well. Good luck practicing. Hope to see you in one of our stores one day. You can drop a comment if you like the video. I always want to hear it, of course, because I love hearing positive feedback. If there's something that you think that we can improve, you can also say it in the comments. And see you guys in the next video because we make a new video every week. So see you guys in the next one. Bye bye.